There was an issue with Facebook at the end of the show yesterday. We we streamed this program live, and some people actually listen to it like it's a radio show. Are you aware of that?
Yes, we got a note from our old friend Mike Hannafin that that's the way he likes to digest the show, I believe.
I missed that email. Why don't you use that Mike Hannafin one?
Okay.
Because I didn't file that in the right spot. That's a perfect. So anyway, a few people were curious because what happened at the end of the live stream, Dan, is it never stopped.
I saw some dialogue about that later, in the chats that we have.
In the production chats?
In the production chats. All you guys are taking care of it. I know nothing about this. It wouldn't turn itself off or something? It was a switch that wouldn't go off?
And I tried going... I went on live myself from the kitchen for a couple seconds just to see if that would supersede the other thing. And the problem was because it wouldn't stop streaming, people who wanted to watch it later in the day couldn't. Anyway, that's been fixed.
All right.
Were you wearing your apron?
Well, I was. Mm-hmm. And you know what else I put on? Put on a little bonnet.
How many views have you had so far? Maybe that's the real show.
That's the show. That's the show, people.
No pants and an apron.
Turn around.
Turns around, just big hairy ass.
I wish I had a big. I wish I had a big hairy ass.
Fuck! Don't drop anything. I don't want you to bend over. Please.
I got no ass. A moment or two ago, Daniel, before you joined us, I was having a conversation, as often happens, with Friedrich and myself, and was referring to my friend, and I said, she's going to be away for a few weeks, and Fred went, "Few?" I said, "Yeah, she's going to be away, leaving this Friday for a couple of weeks," and then we have this discussion that a few isn't the same as a couple, and I was like, well, I don't want to be a stickler here or anything, but I didn't see a big difference between if I said to you, "Hey, I'm going away for a few weeks," would you think that was longer than 2?
Yeah, I would.
Why are we having this discussion? It's like it's a fucking slam dunker. Come on.
Well, according to the Merriam-Webster dictionary, Fred,
right?
Is it a slam dunk? Couple is used to refer to two things, but it is also often used for a small number greater than 2.
A couple?
Yeah. Few is used...
That doesn't make sense.
Well, I'm sorry. Why don't you take it up with them? Few is used the same way as couple, and also for a number slightly greater than a couple. So when I used it saying she's going to be gone for a few weeks, I was referring to it as, a couple of weeks. And you took umbrage and said it was a slam dunk.
Well, it's amazing how you've uncovered a mistake in that dictionary. Oh, aren't they a handsome couple? How many would you like? A couple. And people would just hand you 2. But a handsome couple, that's not the right... Why?
Because we're not using it as a unit of time so much as a couple is. Yes, you'd say that's a handsome couple for sure. But I just said she's going to be gone. You wouldn't say they're a few couple. I know that. That makes sense.
Right.
But when you refer to a number of things, I'll take a few French fries. That would be, I would take a few can mean a couple. It doesn't have to mean
upset, though, if you got 2.
I wouldn't be upset. You only gave me 2. I would be pissed.
That's a mistake in that dictionary. It's got to be a mistake.
All right.
Howard.
Fred.
As I said to him, Dan, in our society, we're conditioned, holidays are usually a couple of weeks, right? And you say a couple of weeks, he's going to be away for 2 weeks. If I say I'm going to Europe for a few weeks, it's like, oh, lucky you. Yeah. I'm going for an extended period.
Well, not everyone thinks the way you do, which I know is going to be a surprise. Here's another definition. A couple is often more strictly interpreted as 2, or at least around 2, maybe 3 or 4, depending on the context. Well, it's possible that some people say a couple when they mean two or even three, but then switch to a few when they mean three or four or more.
Well, there's the explanation, right?
Well, I think what you'd like to say is we're both right. I was right when I said she's going to be gone for a few weeks.
Yeah, but she's not. She's only going to be gone for 2.
Okay. You know what? This is all right.
I was in the Dominican for a few weeks. You were down in Mexico for a few weeks. We weren't down for a couple of weeks.
I don't know what else. Listen, you know what? Here's the thing. Everyone on the computer, everyone on the internet is wrong, but you're right.
Well, it's not the first time that's happened.
Oh, I know. We could go on. We could go on with this for a few more minutes, or I could punch myself in the face.
Me too.
All right, Dan Duran, let's get started.
This episode of Humble and Fred is being broadcast to the world from our state-of-the-art Humble and Fred studio in Toronto, from our Brampton facility featuring a pool.
Hold on a second. I've done something here. Hang on.
Have you?
Okay. Sounded fine.
No, hang on a second. Just wait. Yeah, there's something wrong here. Yeah, no, it's fine. It can't go on because it's going to screw you up. Okay, all the audio's in the right spot. I just did something wrong. With the sound. It is...
Since you're doing tech right now, you're... Okay.
You know what, Dan? It's not a big deal. I just need this I can...
Yeah, it's fine. Yeah, do you want me to start over again?
Yes.
Just pick it up in the middle of a wall.
Listen, I think you're professional enough. I mean, you've been doing this job for more than a few years.
Yeah. Just tell me what to do. I don't know.
I'm going to hit this. I'm going to hit this sound again.
Okay.
All right.
Okay.
All right.
Okay, so this episode, the
hold on.
show,
I don't know, why is your heart why is your heart not into a full Dan Duran reset?
Why
just okay? Why can't you just pick it up?
The stuff I've already done.
No, don't go past
it's repetition.
No, do it all. Do it all, baby. Here we go.
All right. Okay. All right. This episode of Humble and Fred is being broadcast to the world from our state-of-the-art Humble and Fred studio in Toronto, from our Brampton facility featuring a pool and a coughing host, and from a trailer in the Kawarthas with a Danis Duranis bust. I'm Dan Duran, broadcasting live from the Julie Fleming Zoom Theater, and brought to you by the Retirement Sherpa, the Chambers Plan, Boron One, Bodog, our returning sponsor, Kelsey's Original Roadhouse, home of the Humble and Fred End of Summer 13th Anniversary Podcast Party on September 25th, and our newest sponsor, Ridley Funeral Home. And now, here are two men who only used school buses for field trips, got lost during one, and ended up as podcasters. It's Humble and Fred.
Right on. Joshua Alferez from Revive is going to be talking to us later about some of the innovative ways that people are reviving themselves. I've had a chance to check out his place, and it's something else. It's state-of-the-art infrared saunas and deep plunge pools and all kinds of technology that wasn't available back in the old days, Fred, when you used to come to my facility over there in Richmond Hill. So he's got an interesting story to tell, and I think I think one of his partners is a former Raptor. That's on the show. Sorry?
No, that term, interesting, revival. What does that mean exactly?
I'm sorry. Well, his company is called Revive.
Okay. Oh, okay.
And I think it's a play on reviving yourself, but it's a vibe that he's created.
I understand. Okay, I get it. Right.
And Sherpa J will be with us in place of the OG Sherpa. So it's a full program. And we will be reading some of your emails.
Just back to tech stuff real quick here. Your lighting has changed there, Howard. You're not lit as brilliantly and wonderfully as normal. For some reason, your head is in darkness.
I know what to tell you. Nothing else in this room has changed.
Oh, okay. Maybe it's just me noticing something. Okay.
So now that we've gotten through few and a couple, I had an interesting thing I observed, and maybe more for Freddie than Dan, but maybe Dan too. I was out walking Stan yesterday, and there was a couple kids after school. Probably not quite. Probably Johnny's age, like 12, 13?
Like two kids?
I'm sorry. What happened? There was a couple of kids. Yes, two kids.
Two kids.
There wasn't a few, although there could have been a few. So Johnny's age is what, 12?
Almost, Howie. Almost.
So kids
there.
around that age, maybe a little taller, 12, 13. And they were out playing hardball, baseball. And one kid who had a mitt was throwing the ball to his friend who had a bat. And they were slamming this ball around the park, and it was great. You still with me?
Yep.
But one thing I observed that they were doing that you and I, and maybe Dan, if he did this as a kid, would never have done. Can you imagine what it was?
They were hitting the ball.
And it was a hard ball, not a softball, not a tennis ball. It was a full-on fastball type of hardball baseball. And I watched these kids play for a second, and I thought, well, that's something you wouldn't have seen back in the 1960s when our parents gave no shits about us.
Oh, they were wearing batting helmets.
Batting helmets. I'd never seen it, man. And I watched it for a second, and I thought, what's different about this picture? Because it was a great little scene there. One guy was his turn. He would put, and then I'm like, oh, they're...
And you're talking about, like, just pick up a couple of kids playing in the park, not
fucking
organized.
Around. Yes.
And they were wearing batting helmets.
A batting helmet. And I thought, that's again, you know, I see the odd person on the Queensway here riding a bike without a helmet, but very rarely. Mm-hmm. Usually it's somebody that's got, usually when you see it, you think that guy's got some mental issues because they're sort of like, you know,
challenged.
Yeah. But I'd never seen that. And it was a great scene. It was a great, you know, late summer, fall scene. They took turns. Everything was going great until one guy hoisted the ball over a fence and they just sort of fucking sat there for a second trying to figure out which one of them was going to go around and ask the neighbor for their ball back. It was great. But he was wearing a batting helmet.
Johnny often goes down to the park to play baseball with his buddies, you know, just pick up horsing around. I don't know whether they put batting helmets on when they go. I don't think so. But, you know, some parents have strict rules. On that note, the ball going over the fence. Remember playing road hockey and somebody would shoot wide and they go way down the street and be like, oh, geez, who's got to go get it? Usually the person that shot it, but...
No, I know.
I remember that quite vividly. We used to put the nets against the curb, like angled across the road, to sort of alleviate that. So if you shot it wide, it just went up on somebody's lawn, not all the way down the road.
Yeah, we had a great street for road hockey, but except for the fact that it could go a long way when the tennis ball was missed. But I had in our backyard, I had a great place for taking shots, and I didn't realize that I was against my dad's shed, and me and my buddies played there one entire winter until I realized I was making a mess of the shed with these tennis ball marks. The glassman was not impressed.
Yeah.
Well, remember that. Maybe you don't. There was a commercial showed Sidney Crosby when he was a kid and the parents' dryer down in the basement.
Right, yeah.
Just full of dents from pucks. But I'll tell you, this road hockey thing, Howard, I don't know the last time I saw a road hockey game. Like this neighborhood, nope. A lot of basketball hoops.
Yeah.
But no, you never see... I haven't seen a road hockey game on this street since the neighbor John Liddell kids were small.
Well, I haven't seen one in this neighborhood, but I think I told you, Dan, you know, when you came to visit in Mexico and we went over to see my brother and Ruth, they lived right next to a school.
Yeah, I remember that school. Right.
And the parking lot of that school, every Sunday morning, I guess it's a bunch of Canadians and their kids, they organize a road hockey game on the basketball courts. And it's every Sunday, and it's pretty fun to watch, actually.
You know, they talk about simple sports. You know, hockey has become expensive. All the equipment, skates, ice time, all that stuff that's really... Well, it's hurt the game, actually. And but, you know, road hockey's pretty simple, like basketball. And I'm just surprised more kids... I guess they're on all their devices.
Yeah.
But... Remember road hockey? Like, we'd play all day long. We'd have little mini tournaments. We'd play out I bring up my dad's alarm clock to time periods.
No, I know.
Honestly.
Same with us. Listen, we played all day.
That was crazy, man. Yeah.
I played out in road hockey, but I loved being the goalie, just taking shots. I love that.
Yeah.
So is this going to tie in? I've got a hockey number I want to throw at you, but you said you had a trivia.
And I got a hockey question for you guys.
Well, do you want to do that? And then I'll tell you the player who just set an NHL record for the highest paid player of all time.
Yeah, that's my question for you.
Oh,
but I have that isn't my question. Were you going to ask me who?
No, I was going to say I just saw it this morning, and I was surprised by the name.
Well, here's my question to you.
Yes.
Was going to be the highest paid player in the NHL is from what country? The new highest paid player in the NHL is from what country?
So currently the highest paid player.
Well,
yesterday he became the highest paid player in the NHL. What country is he from?
Well, I know his name. I have no idea what country he's from. Is he from Canada?
No, and it just shows how the NHL and hockey has evolved internationally. Who would have ever thought that the highest paid player in the NHL, and it will be momentary because, Connor McDavid, his contract's coming up in a year or so, is from Germany. Who'd have ever thought? Germany.
Leon Draisaitl is from Germany?
Draisaitl,
sorry.
Is from Germany.
Yeah, Germany.
And again, when I saw that, I'm just thinking, really, who would have predicted that just a short time ago? Because it's usually Canadians, Americans, Russians, usually that dominate some Czechs, but and
Scandinavia has some, doesn't? Yeah,
Scandinavia. Yeah.
Well, it surprised me for a lot of reasons. You should have told me it was going to be because I saw this story and I was more fascinated by the fact that he signed an 8-year contract with the Edmonton Oilers, and that's the team that Connor McDavid plays for. Mm-hmm. I know it has to do with salary caps and other that, but isn't that kind of I'll just say a bit of a slap in the face for Connor McDavid?
No, because McDavid signed, he was the highest paid player for a while, and then, you have a contract, and as I say, Connor McDavid's, I think, has 2 years to run, and then he'll sign at $16 million. Mm-hmm. Just the way it works. This is very significant, honestly, for a player of that stature. He's considered maybe one of the top 4 players in the National Hockey League. To become a free agent, he could have gone pretty much anywhere he wanted to go. And he chose to stay in Edmonton. That is huge for Canada and Canadian teams because, traditionally these guys want to get the hell out of Canada, especially if you're not from Canada.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I mean, it happens all the time. I mean, that Johnny Gaudreau we were talking about, the kid who got killed, and the Tkachuk, Matthew Tkachuk wanted out of Calgary. But for him to want to stay in Edmonton it's pretty good.
I just remembered this because I hadn't seen you for a couple of days. I ran into an old friend of mine, somebody that you know, Steve Thomas.
Yes.
Former Toronto Maple Leaf. Mm-hmm. In our day together, we used to play a lot of golf, and I happened to see him at this charity thing I hosted, and he was just so excited to see me, asked about our show, and just a really, really nice man. He was a pretty good, what was his, Stumpy or Dumpy?
Mm-hmm. Stumpy, yeah.
Stumpy, that was his nickname, Dan.
Yep. So, his Humble and Fred nickname, or
no,
on the ice?
No, silly man. No, it was his. For some reason, he's a very, very good guy, and we at some point we should get him on the podcast. But back to money for a second. So yesterday I told you that Scotty Scheffler set a huge record, earning the most money on the golf course. In golf history, he made $62 million this year on the golf course. It's never been even when Tiger won 9 times, purses weren't as big. But here's a very interesting bit of trivia for you. How they pay their caddies, Dan and Fred, is they give them a base salary, And then they're bonused on wins, seconds, thirds. They get a bonus scale. So because he won so many tournaments, 7 in all, plus the Olympics, his caddy made $6.25 million.
Nice.
For the season. Yes.
Wow. So it's a percentage?
Yeah, for a win, you get 10%, or you get some sliding percentage. Whatever it was, it added up to higher than sort of 6.5, 6 point something. And our buddy Lumbee pointed this out to me, but I had seen it other places, which is Jack Nicklaus, for his entire career, highest money winner of all time when he retired, made $6 million for winning 18 majors and 62 combined
total winnings. Yeah.
That's right. Mm-hmm.
Wow.
That's how much purses have changed. In Jack's day, first prize for a tournament was typically $40,000 or $50,000.
Yeah. It's crazy.
No one made $1 million on the PGA Tour until 1989 in earnings of tournament prize money.
Well, listen, in the early 80s, and I know that's 40 years ago, believe it or not, it's crazy. But, $100,000 in the NHL was a good salary. Through the 80s, really.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, that was a good, solid NHL salary. And now, these guys, and again, as the pro sports go, the NHL is way down there, not even in competition with the other big three. But now, mid-range players are making $4 and $5 million a year. It's got to be a guy like Steve Thomas. I mean, he made good money.
Yeah, he made decent money.
He made decent money over his career, but these guys got to sit back and go, wow. Like a guy like Steve Thomas, if he'd have been born 20 years later, 30 years later, you have that same hockey player. He's in the $5 to $6 million range.
Well, Jack Nicklaus, born, 40 years later, with the number of wins he's had, he would have made hundreds of millions. But think about this. Like I said, the very first year that somebody's prize money added up to more than $1 million was 1989. It was Curtis Strange. Now, first place in most tournaments, the lesser ones is 1.3. The bigger ones is $4 or $5 million in that tournament. You could finish second in some tournaments and make more than $1 million. Anyway, we're going to have to move on because we've got our emails coming up. Go ahead.
Can I make one more point on this money thing?
Yes.
So they're predicting that probably next year, Connor McDavid will sign a new deal, and like $16 million, and Draisaitl's making like $14 million now. So that would be $30 million. They will be lucky if by then the salary cap is, over 90 a bit. Like right now, I think it's high 80s or whatever. But even if it's in the early 90s, they're going to have two players making 1/3 of the salary cap. And that reveals the major problem for the NHL right now. Because you got to sign these guys to keep them. That's what they're worth. But if you got two of them, you really got to get creative beyond that, right?
Do other sports, like I don't know, is there a salary cap in the NFL and NBA?
Yeah, but they're not restrictive. You know what I mean? To the point where the NHL is. Their salary caps, and I don't know what they are, but they're high enough that you don't have to play this bean counter game. Yeah. If you've got a couple of stars, where it's like, oh, okay, that's great. So now we need a couple of defensemen at $250,000 a year.
Yeah, I get it.
It's a weird situation that league finds itself in.
Dan Duran's news coming up a little bit later, and as I mentioned, lots of interesting information, including I want you to know about Kelsey's, where wings first landed. Kelsey's, the original Roadhouse. Stop by for half-price wings and $6 Coors Light every Thursday night. By the way, there's half-price wing Wednesdays as well. Wing Wednesdays as well. And those are pretty cool. On Thursdays, you get a $6 Coors Light, half-price wings, and you can have them any way you like. There's never been a better time to wing it. September 25th is going to be quite a night at Kelsey's. You can still enter Humble and Fred at humbleandfredradio.com. We were talking to our friends at Kelsey's yesterday, Fred and I, and came up with a couple of fun things we're going to do that night, including, a lot of these bars will do trivia nights. We're going to do Hundy P, Humble and Fred trivia for Kelsey's prizes. Last time, I think we gave away wings for a year and some Kelsey's gift certificates. It's going to be a very, very fun time, as it always is, at Kelsey's Original Roadhouse. Visit kelseys.ca or your local Kelsey's for details.
Okay, let me throw some more numbers at you, okay? And off the top, I said a couple of defensemen at $250,000. I meant like $2.5 million. I mean, the minimum salary in the NHL is like $795.
But you know what? We got your point. Here's the thing about it.
Okay.
The thing about points is you make a good one, and we get it.
I made a couple of points.
You made a few.
Two of them. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Hey, whether you're a sports bettor, a horse racing fan, a poker, casino player, Bodog, your number one source of online gambling entertainment, from their industry-leading odds, world-class sportsbook to their fully loaded casino and racebook. Yeah, they've been providing Canadian players with an unparalleled gaming experience since 1994. Some numbers: Kansas City Chiefs plus 500 to win the Super Bowl again. It would be a three-peat, never been done in the NFL. The 49ers second at plus 625, and the Eagles at 1,000. Look at your Buffalo Bills way down there at plus 1,300. I think seventh place. A bit disappointing. As far as this weekend goes, the Bills home opener, season opener against the Arizona Cardinals. The Bills a 6.5-point pick. The money on that is minus 300. So that sets the table for the weekend for you.
I'm a little disappointed where they've got our Buffalo Bills. Mm-hmm. We can discuss that later. I understand that. In the meantime, let's discuss this. We've been playing these email sounds for quite some time, and I came across one that is really, really old school. Have a listen.
Email. Time for email. Let's read some email. Hi, guy. Hi, guy. It's hi, guy. What's Harapipa? Hi, guy. It's hi, guy. It's hi, guy.
And today the emails are brought to you by Boron 1 B1. That's right. Go find out more about this country at this company at boron1.com. Freddie, lead us off.
Okay, subject matter, this morning's show on Facebook. This is from our old friend Mike Hannafin. Used to work at CFNY years ago. Friend of the show. Very loyal. He says, hi, guys.
Hi, guys.
You're probably aware, but today's Humble and Fred isn't showing up on Facebook. At least not yet. When I click it, it shows the last 3 seconds of Dan's sign-off. If it isn't fixable, I'll go to the Apple Podcast route, but I much prefer watching and listening to the show. So I understand there was some kind of an issue. Howard, you can explain? This is from Hannafin.
Well, just what we said at the top of the show. There was something happened. Boone and I tried to fix it, and went in, and we did. The only way to fix it was to delete it, and we thought we would leave it. And I got a note from Mike later in the day saying it seems to have righted itself. So Mike Hannafin and others who were curious about that, we certainly appreciate your interest in this program, and that seems to have figured itself out.
Right on.
All right. This one, subject line, live, love, laugh. And it refers to this bit we were doing about, people's hokey cottage signs and such. It's from Jim Spencer. And, of course, he says,
hi, guys.
Thought of you and the program when I saw this. I don't know my heart rate, but the BMs are very regular. And what it is a cottage sign, and it has live, laugh, love on it, but that's been crossed out. Mm-hmm. And in its place, it just says, don't be a cunt. Which is, I think a fair sentiment for all of us. Anyway.
That's funny.
We thank you, Jim.
Right on, brother.
Jim Spencer. All right. Moving on.
Hi, guys.
Subject matter, Wiener Drag Show. This is from Tanya Hassan. And she says, hi, guys.
Hi, guys.
Just catching up on Wednesday's show and listening to each of you would dress your wieners up as. Yeah, remember that?
Oh, great, fantastic bit.
Remember that part of the show? Yes.
That's right.
How we would dress up our penises.
Yes.
Now that I have firsthand knowledge, she says, I feel like I've been listening long enough to point out that Fred chose B. Arthur. Dorothy was the tallest person on the show. Did he perhaps mean to say Sophia? Estelle Getty? Because she was the shortest on the show. That's right. I've also heard numerous references to Fred's satchel, perhaps Jabba the Hutt. Always a great time listening. Already working on my new shirt for Kelsey's. The Kelsey's Get Together. Cheers, Tanya. Yeah, I didn't put enough thought into that.
Well, I'll tell you who did. Tanya.
No, I know.
Tanya.
I just went for somebody unattractive. That was my sort of route.
I love that note for so many reasons, not the least of which is that there's somebody out there who was hearing that bit and thought, oh, wait a second, let me put some thought into this. And that person was Tanya Hutton, who, as we all know, killed it at Stonehooker with her I'm Too Fat for Dan Duran t-shirt.
Right.
All right. Yeah. This next one is connections. Subject line, subject matter. It's from Scott Gay, and he says, hi, guys.
Hi, guys.
It's a very long note. It's very long. He just wants to, he said, I want to drop a note to tell you guys how you connect with some of your listeners. And he tells a story about how there was a running connection when I talked about Charlie having run her marathon. And he said, I was talking to a friend who knows me, and he says that the friend golfs with Howard at the time, all the time, and then proceeds to send Howard a message about the story, and then Howard replied right away. Now, another crazy thing, last year, Howard was talking about emceeing at a golf tournament that was raising money. But he did not mention Dr. Nam's name, but I knew it was my doctor. By the way, Dr. Nam is booked for a week or so. Anyway, so he's just talking about all the things that we say on the show that he connects with. At the Kelsey's Christmas party last year, I did talk to Howard to say about how much I enjoyed the marathon story. I was thrilled he mentioned me on the next day's show. Hopefully Howard remembers. Anyway, I'm not usually someone who writes long notes. This is the longest note I have written since I graduated high school in 1978, which I think is funny. He says, and since I live around the corners from Kelsey's in Burlington, I will be at the patio party. Resting heart rate 57, BMs every morning, and regards, Scott. So isn't that all very lovely?
Yes. Mm-hmm. That's, yeah. Again, every so often we're reminded how, in the positions we're in, we can touch people in ways that sometimes we don't even appreciate.
Yeah, and in a lot of ways, it's the best part of doing the show like we do it now. Who were we talking to? Someone interviewed both of us a couple weeks ago, and we were on a podcast together. And
Buddy Boy, yeah, Buddy Boy,
the Buddy Boy podcast.
Yeah, Buddy Boy. I forget.
I forget too. But we made that point several times that we used to have quarter hours over 100,000 people and all this stuff, but we always mention how this audience that we interact with now is by far the most connected we have ever been with an audience because of the format and style of the show. And I think Buddy Boy was impressed, by our insights.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Now he's listening this morning going, Jesus, can't you say my name? That takes research.
Well, yeah, we would if we could remember even part of it.
Hi, guys. Hi, guys.
Let's move on.
Hi, guys.
Subject matter, the podcast. From Robert Frazier. Now, Robert Frazier is a salesman at Q107.
Is he? Is he now?
Yes.
Is he?
Yes, he is. Fine fellow.
Okay.
He came to our Stonehooker, Humble and Fred all-Canadian ale launch on August 7th.
Nice.
And we met. And that night he gave me a Q brew. Q hooked up with, What's the brewery down there by the dome there? Steve Whistle, I think it is. Something like that.
This is Mill Street, actually.
Oh, Mill Street. I'm sorry, Mill Street.
I'm just looking at it now.
Okay. Yes, Mill Street. The Crew Brew. And he said, when I tried it was nice. It was a very nice brew. It was some kind of a Grolsch or something. Not as nice as our beer, but it was okay.
Well, I want to ask you, by comparison, how was it?
It was nice. It was lovely. It was a lovely experience.
Grolsch makes a little more what?
Yeah, it was a little more of an edge than our beer.
Grolsch makes a non-alcoholic beer. I've tried it.
And you know what? Grolsch, I say Grolsch, it's a Croche or something.
Oh, I see.
Okay. I don't have it.
Well, that's fine. Listen, you got a lot going on.
Anyway, he says, Robert goes on to say, Ched, C-H-E-D, in Edmonton has come up in your conversation, so I thought I would pass this along. And what it is, it's something... Oh, yeah, I'm sorry.
It's a Ched press release. I read it.
It's a Kolsch. Right.
Okay.
I see the picture. He said along this chorus memo... talking about Ched moving dial positions in Edmonton from like 630 to 880.
Well, let me give you some quick perspective.
That's a better dial position.
Well, let me give you some perspective. Growing up in Western Canada, 630 Ched was part of the chain that we all worked for, Dan, me, Lumbee, and Danny. And it was one of the big heritage radio stations in the 60s and 70s. It was the cool station to work at. It was Chum AM when Chum AM was big. It was CFRB. And the press release shows them leaving their dial position at 630 and going to 880 when I read the thing. I can't really figure why, and they're also the play-by-play home of the Oilers.
It's a clear signal, apparently, and it became available, so they jumped on it. Again, in this day and age, I guess out there in Alberta, you still have to worry about terrestrial aspects, because here with smart speakers and everything, it doesn't mean as much. However, I must say, I have to make this point. I think a week or so ago, you said that Ched had been shut down, too. But I think this is what you were actually referring to. You read the story about Ched moving dial positions. Because remember CHML?
Yeah, no, I think I don't know where I read that. Maybe that's what it was. It was they were moving away from 630.
And then you said to me, "Oh, they're shutting Ched down," and I went, "Really?" Like I hadn't read that because of what you just said. It's such a huge beacon of information out there. I was surprised. So, yeah, they have changed dial position.
It was a top.
Anyway, thank you.
I was going to say one more thing about Ched. So moving from 630 to 880. I worked at an AM station in Moose Jaw. It was 800, and because of the way AM, the way the pattern works, anything over 800 on AM is, as you say, it's an enormous signal. It would skip all over Western Canada. You could get that depending on the time of night when AM stations have to change their patterns. Anyway, well, I'm glad to see it's not gone out of business. So good for you, Chorus.
Yeah, it's a lot of patchwork with Chorus right now, and just apparently they got refinancing yesterday or something.
I saw that
keep
too.
Their head above the water. They're like $1 billion in debt. So,
Hi guys.
Here we go.
This is good management.
Exactly.
Good management.
This is from Mark Massicate, and of course he says, "Hi guys." Hello, Peeper. If you need a guest and or a musical guest for events, check out Dylan Locke. He's a great musician from Midland that used to live stream concerts from his driveway during COVID. I would put him up there with Dwayne Gretzky, which is high praise because, as you've said, they're a talented group. As for Dan's alter ego, Cockface could be a mild-mannered clankerman by day. Love the show. Love the show, boys. Your nonsense makes me lull every episode. Well, that's all we can do. That's Mark Massicate from Kitchener, Hundy P, since Kinder. And if you Hundy Ps know that Jason Kinder was the original producer of our podcast, came along almost immediately and slugged it out with us for a couple years, I believe. Was it at least a couple years?
Yeah, at least.
We didn't really talk much about Kinder, but he was a character. He really
Yes,
was.
he was. Yeah,
And,
slightly.
I
I wonder
can-
whatever happened.
I can still see the figurines he brought us.
Do you think he's still alive?
I think he is.
Okay.
Yeah, he had he was married to a woman who had a very successful business, and so he really didn't need money from us, and was a very quirky fellow who was pretty funny at times.
Who was that Asian guy we used to have working with us too? That guy. Yeah, remember that Asian kid? What was his name?
I don't recall.
Oh, you don't recall? Okay.
I played his intro a few
kid-
seconds ago.
No, I. No. He has sort of shot us out of his life.
Oh no, he broke up with me for something he says I said to his sisters like 4 years ago. Fuck, like that's another one of the curious cases surrounding this podcast.
Yeah.
Anyways, thanks for your email. We got a couple more to go, Frederick.
Hi, guys. Hi, guys.
Yeah, subject matter here is Kelsey's from Rick Cameron, an old friend of the show. He says, "Hi, guys.
Hi, guys.
Working in Sudbury this week, had an excellent Thai shrimp curry dish and a nice local craft beer called Lawnmower Lager. With Kelsey's on board with Humble and Fred, I am back on board with Kelsey's. Cheers, you buggers." And he, I guess this was up in Sudbury. He went to a Kelsey's and he enjoyed lunch at Kelsey's because they have become a sponsor with us again. The power, of Humble and Fred. Isn't it? Isn't that a great?
That is
Isn't that a
great.
great example?
And I sent
Kelsey's
that.
is-
I sent that to our little agency that we work with that helps us so much. The two Ryans, and we talked to Kelsey's yesterday, and they really are thrilled. They really do. I think the woman from corporate said something. It was very nice what she said. She said that Humble and Fred listeners are really one of a kind, or something like that.
Yeah.
Am I making that up? I think she said that.
Yeah, no. Well, they had a deal with us, and then just like a real radio station, sometimes they back off and then they revisit. That's the way the industry works, and obviously they came back to us for a reason, and it's fantastic.
Okay, and finally today from
guys.
Kevin House in the house. Subject line, Frisbee golf. And of course he says, "Hi guys," because he's not a monster. I was noodling around on my Samsung TV channels. I came across a channel that is dedicated to Frisbee golf. It's kind of neat. I was playing Frisbee over the weekend with my 9-year-old daughter. She was gifted a Frisbee from the OPP at a ride check. He says he passed. He said the Frisbee golfers throw Frisbees through forests with incredible accuracy and bend them around trees. Wondering Howard's thoughts on Frisbee golfers. Is it a real sport? And then he says, "I'm an avid scuba diver, and I'm tired of people saying to me, 'I went snorkeling once.' It is not the same thing. Is it the same thing with golfers and Frisbee golfers?" Well, let me just address that. I have played Frisbee golf. It's fun. But it has really no relationship to golf other than, trying to get a score on a course. But it is pretty cool. Have you ever had a chance to play it like on a Frisbee golf course with like they have the chain link holes you're supposed to throw the Frisbee through?
There's a park just south of me, and I just all by myself one day had a Frisbee when my dog Billy was alive. And
No.
they have a little course down there, but that's the extent of it. I've never really been in a competition or a real game.
It's fun. It's if you find yourself with an opportunity to play it, it's kind of fun. I want to finish this out because he says, "P.S. Tell Dan, I had a colonoscopy." That's what Kevin's saying. 53 years old, perfect health, except for a sore knee. They found 3 polyps and removed them. No symptoms, no bleeding, just polyps that may or may not have developed into a problem. And then he goes on to say, "I had the poo test in the past. The poo test does not detect polyps. It will only detect a problem once it happened. Suck it up." This is him talking to Dan. "And get the camera up your ass. The cleanse isn't that bad, and the nurse will, I'm sure, be fascinated by your wang."
Yeah. Well, that says it all, doesn't it?
Well, he has one more sentence. He says, listener from 92 in the CFNY days, lost in the Blundell years, reintroduced since Voldemort. Keep me entertained, and thank you.
One other thing, he says they're gifted a Frisbee from the OPP at a ride check. I passed. If you fail, do they still give you the Frisbee?
No, I don't think so. I don't think you get the Frisbee.
Fucking drunk asshole. Where's my Frisbee?
No, if you're drunk. I got stopped at a ride test. They were giving out Frisbees, but I was hammered, so I just took a Frisbee and started playing with it. That's how you know. That's what they do. They show you some Frisbees, and if you want to get out of the car and start playing it, they know you're fucking hammered.
Yeah. Oh, so true, man. True.
So why don't we how about Kevin House? Because there was lots of good stuff there. Everyone had a great email. But Kevin House will be our Zoom theater recipient when Dan Duran rejoins us. So far, I don't see our guest there. As soon as I said that, there he is. This kid's very bright. I've had a chance to hang out with him. And they got a company there. It would be good for us to get involved in, if you know what I mean.
Yes. Perfect.
Okay. Let's make sure. Hey there, Josh. Let's make sure Josh can hear us. Can you hear us, Josh?
Yes, I can hear. Can you guys hear me?
Yeah, sounds fantastic. And a couple months ago, I was introduced to Josh Alferez, who is the owner, co-founder of a very different type of rehabilitation place called Revive TO. And she said it's cold. It's, everyone's gone to physiotherapy and you've gone to a place where you can train. Josh has taken this concept to a different area. And it's great to see you. I haven't seen you for a few weeks. How you doing, kid?
I've been good. How you been, man?
Well, you know me. Josh has done some work on me, and he's like, dude, it's like he's not sure he's going to be able to fix me. Let's talk about Revive, though, and how it started. And I mentioned to Fred, that's Fred, that isn't one of your partners a former Raptor?
He's a former NBA player. He used to play for the Orlando Magic and Portland Trailblazers, etc. And his name is Andrew Nicholson.
Okay.
One of my business partners there, yeah.
So, and how did you get together with Andrew, who obviously knows lots about sports rehab, and you as a not only a registered massage therapist, but you have a different way of working with people. How did it all come together to make Revive TO?
So Revive itself, it's myself. So there's two partners. Originally, it was myself and Justice when we started the business in 2019 in Mississauga. So the concept itself started from a relationship we had. We both actually knew each other from high school. We were neighbors in the same community, and we used to play basketball in the community literally after school in the Applewood, like Tompkin, Burnthorpe, around that area, right? So 5-10 years down the line, basically, we reconnected after school. And I was becoming a therapist. I was still an assistant at the time. And he actually opened up his business, his tire shop, 416 Wheels, in Mississauga. I reached out to him on Instagram because I saw him posting stuff. And then I said, hey, let me stretch you out and show you essentially what I do. And from there, he became a client of mine. I expanded my location down to Port Credit. And then from there, he saw the entire experience for which you actually went through. Mm-hmm. And that basically was it's just more customized, more personalized. It's more focused on the cause, right? So that's where it kind of stemmed from. And then the entire ideation of the business expanded where he basically said, hey, I love what you're doing. What's your thoughts on actually starting a full business on this, where it's not just you, but it's an entire team now focused on the same principles, same goals, which is basically looking at the body as a whole, right? So that's where it kind of stemmed from myself and Justice. Where Andrew jumped into the picture was like random connections, constant connections happening in the same year. It was like last year, 2023, sometime in spring, sometime in summer. His name just kept coming up, and all of a sudden he DMs us on our Revive, Time to Revive Instagram, and he says he wants to stop by to come check out the space. originally just to, just sublease his location in Markham. He had a basketball court, a facility, high performance facility in his Markham location. And then he came in here and he saw the full vision. And he understood essentially, hey, you know what? This is my entire life. So this is what I had when I was in the NBA. This is everything every NBA player had as an experience, from not just the therapy side, from the wellness and recovery, the performance side, the strength and conditioning, right? So that's where it all kind of came
And not
together.
to rush through the origin story, but I want to get to what is it that Revive, and you mentioned that NBA players have. Let everyone know all the different things, because it's not just massage therapy or sports therapy. It's an entire experience that you offer.
Mm-hmm. So the entire space itself, what we term Revive, it's a social wellness house. So it's a space of gathering where a bunch of people, like-minded individuals, who are all there to essentially do one thing, which is improve their performance so they can get to the best shape of their life, right? So the experience itself uses multiple modalities that are all active modalities, where the practitioner is one-to-one in their therapy sessions, focusing on manual therapy, which is a global approach of therapy where you focus on understanding root causes. And then you dive deep more into what are the things you can be doing when you're not with your therapist? How can you improve your recovery to enhance your time to get back on the court or to get back on the field, right? And that's where you go into the cold plunge. We have the infrared sauna, red light therapy, down to the recovery boots. That's where I'm in right now, the recovery lounge, which is basically lymphatic drainage to help with essentially draining of fluids, of lymph, to get back on the court to feel like you actually have like lighter legs faster. And then obviously the performance gym with Tempo Fitness, which is basically our strength and conditioning side of the business, right? So it's a multifaceted space that uses more than just therapy as a medium, because there's no one size fits all. There's no one tool that fixes everything, right? So, yeah.
So would this be exclusively for athletes and injuries, or can anyone go there for what ails them? Like an old guy who's
can old people go like us?
Good. Just doesn't. Yeah, but you're, Howard, seriously though, you're an athlete. I mean, your connection there is because of your golf. But just say an older guy that has some aches and pains, that type of thing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So although we work with athletes, so we do sports medicine as one aspect of the business. The other aspect of the business is also focused on alignment, which is posture, right? So that would cater to all populations, right? So it's not specifically just sports medicine, athletic therapy, etc. It's primarily focused on just people who don't want to feel pain and want to be able to move at their most optimal state, right? So we deal with majority of populations being families. So a lot of our families that we deal with, like the Gen Pop, the families are a little more active. Although they may not be athletes, right? They don't have to be a recreational athlete per se. Sure. They're just people who just, I want to be able to go for walks. I want to be able to go for a run. I want to be able to, maybe I go to the gym once or twice a week. I don't have to do, I don't have to be an athlete per se, play a sport to be able to access the services, the experience. You just have to be able to move. That's very simple, right? So which means it's accessible to everyone. That's the whole point.
Yeah. I mean, at the very basic, especially as you get older, I mean, somebody my age, whatever. I mean, stretching is always important, but I have to imagine, as you get into your 60s and everything, a lot of people just sort of give it up, and, just a basic stretching program can be so helpful.
Well, that's why I wanted to ask you, Joshua, because you see people of all stages of life, but for older men and women, is that one of the things that starts to get sort of left behind, where you don't stretch, you don't move, you don't get, you don't, or you don't go in and get therapy, you don't go in and get some one of the modalities.
You're not proactive.
Yeah, exactly. You're not proactive.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I think that's what happens, because I think it's also because of the culture. Like, if you look at the culture of how people view health and I'm just saying this is Western society, to be honest, it's like Western society is a lot different from how you look at Eastern, right? A lot of the inspiration that came from Revive came from a trip I came back from Japan. So originally 2019 and 2018, I went to Philippines and Japan, and the entire culture was a complete shock to me in comparison to what we had out here. Like, everybody out there, and when you're talking about age, it's completely different. Everyone out there they're moving, they're they're doing things that you don't expect them to be doing. But out here, we're seated, we're seated majority of the time, stagnant. The lifestyle's completely different out here, and that's where I think like that reactive state of mind is also embedded into the Western culture. Also because of pharmaceuticals, there's like a lot of reasons for that when you really pay attention to why we are the way we are out here. But worldwide, that's not the same case. You know what I mean? So that's what we're basically trying to bring out into the Western side, is that it's not supposed to be focused on a reactive case. It's supposed to be focused on being proactive, right?
What I liked about your experience, and it's been a few weeks since I've come and seen you guys, is that it reminded me a lot of, and I told this to Fred, reminded me a lot of the place that I had years ago, where it wasn't just one modality. It wasn't just a chiro, and it wasn't just, training. You have a whole sort of a holistic approach. Plus, the place is cool. It's got a nice vibe to it. But part of the problem for people like me is, as I've aged, I keep being as active as I am, which is great because it's got benefits. But it also has, as you've seen with me, it has some deficits as well, because the first time Joshua sort of started work with me, he was like, man, we're going to need to see it for a bit. Because I have a lot of shit going wrong. A couple times he tried to move one of my legs in a certain manner, and I just said, dude, it does not move that way anymore. But so there's hope for people like me, and for people that are also wanting to be more active. It is a place where you can train. But I want to talk a little bit about the thing that I got to do for the very first time, which is an infrared sauna, and then going to a cold plunge. Explain why that, because have you done a cold plunge yet, Freddie?
No, I have not.
It's unbelievable. So explain, guys, I started crying like a baby. Explain why everyone was hearing. Is that the sound of Howard whimpering? Why is that heat cold thing so good for your body's system?
So the concept, so if we look at like the theoretical science to it, it's all based off of contrast. So it's the idea of vasodilation and vasoconstriction, which is where you constrict your blood vessels, your veins, etc. And then by restricting it, you're keeping all that pressure within the tissue. And then the heat would obviously vasodilate, which is expand it further. So you're getting this like pumping action of blood moving in and out of your system and flushing faster within your system. So that's one aspect we're looking at like physiologically. What does that do to the body? It basically starts to flush what's within the body faster. It naturally happens, just not at an accelerated rate when you are moving that. But the red light has its own benefits as a whole, and as well as the cold plunge, right? They're two different like extremes of benefits. When combined together, that's what you're really looking for, which is the contrast effects, right? Which is hot cold therapy.
I'll tell you, if I was I was a little bit nervous because I had always wanted to try that cold plunge. You see athletes do it all the time, but
oh yeah, it's crazy when you see them in the locker room in those big. They look like
tubs.
Big beer tubs, and they're sitting. Yeah.
So I go in there
with the ice,
and the first 3 times I described it on the show. The first 3 times I got in for 10 seconds and got out, and then the 4th time and the 5th time I stayed in for 30 seconds, and then the last time probably a little bit longer. But Josh, you've stayed in for how many minutes?
Okay, so I want to say the disclaimer was 6 minutes is what you should be doing.
6 minutes.
6 minutes is like the beneficial state. Anything after that, there's not much benefit. Some people do it longer. Like, yeah. Well, I mean, like, so the whole idea is like 6 minutes is like all the like you call it like your parasympathetic, your rest, digest, your nervous system benefits are there, right? I mean, I can definitely go longer, right? But it's just like there's no reason to, right? So.
I can tell you this. I did not know what to expect. I've done infrared saunas before, and so that was very cool. But I had no idea what that experience was going to be like. And it's, as I said to Fred, too, the next day, having felt that now, I know one thing. If Stan, my dog, ever goes through the ice in a lake, well, he's going to die because I'm not going in there. I'm not going in there, dude.
Just to revisit the older, because I'm an older gentleman, and a lot of people that listen to the show, I guess, can relate to this. Howard is obviously more active than I am. He's golfing every day. I do stuff around the house and everything. But he has all sorts of aches and pains. I have nothing. right? I have nothing. And I'm almost afraid to get into an exercise program in case I hurt myself. And I was reading a bit about this last week, how careful you have to be, especially at my age, if you get into an exercise program, not to overdo it and be very careful, because ultimately you may injure yourself, and then obviously the whole point.
I think that's a great question.
Has been lost. What would your advice be to a guy in his 60s? Hey, nothing wrong, nothing hurts on my body, but I want to be more active and I want to get more sort of physical. What would you recommend?
So the biggest thing, like when we look at a person entering into any kind of physical program, especially at let's say like at an older age, what you want to focus on is understanding the history of an individual. So if the person has a history, there's obviously going to be injuries or surgeries, etc., or certain sports they play. All those factors are going to create, we call them they're like cautions, right? Things to kind of pay attention to. If a person plays a sport their whole life and they stop playing that sport now, they have a dominance though rotating one way, there's going to be a tendencies, right? So you're going to be more predisposed to moving in one direction versus the other, right? So for example, I want to get into training and I'm afraid to basically I might get hurt. Majority of the concept of getting hurt, that's why the same thing, Western culture, is that we are conditioned to be afraid to basically move, right? So when you start basically training, it's more about progressively overloading your body to handle the strain, creating more capacity. It's making sure that it's more in a guided way, especially in that age group, because a lot of people do it, and they do it, they get hurt, but it's also because did you do it with the right capacity? Did you actually move with what you actually can move in? Do you understand what you're capable of doing first, right? So know your baseline is what I'll say. And once you know your baseline, seek guidance, right? Because at that age, there's a lot of things
that could go wrong.
Absolutely.
Right?
And a lot of predispositions, right? So
I really think that's a great thing for you to bring up, because a lot of our listeners, and again, I'm not only active doing golf, but I do a golf workout. I do some of the stuff that you've given me. I do yoga a couple times a week. So there's a benefit to that, but there's also a cost along with it. And if somebody like Fred, who is pretty active in his life, but one of the things he said, and when he said nothing hurts on him, I'm like, what do you mean nothing hurts? How can that even be? Whereas Joshua has seen me, it's from head to knees to hips to shoulders to necks. Josh is like, we're going to need more time. Come back again. So, but what I wanted to get to is there a point where someone like Fred, or in some of our listeners that want to get active and check out Revive TO, because there's a certain amount of pain you're going to, or I don't know, you're going to get some aches and pains if you start to move and move weight and move your body. It's just part of, but I guess what I'm getting to, isn't the benefit outweigh that?
That's correct, yeah. So it's at the end of the day, yes, there's always going to be, no matter what you do, there's always a risk. Right, there's always a risk of injury in anything you do. You step outside, there's a risk of injury, right? You get out of bed, there's a risk of injury, right? At the end of the day, there's always an opportunity for risk of injury, but the benefits will always outweigh, because by moving, you not only just focus on the joints and the tissues, you're also working on the heart and your brain health, etc. There's so many things that start to change as a result of it, especially at that age where things naturally decline. With age, I'm talking about mainly hormones, where a lot of the issues happen down the road. Then everything starts deteriorating from the inside, right? So you may not see it, is what I'll say, internally, but the biggest thing that you do control is what you do on a day-to-day basis, which is your habits. So if your habits are to move, then the benefits associated to moving will always work to your joints, your muscles, to your heart, to your brain, to everything, right? Your lungs, etc.
And that old saying, no pain, no gain. I mean, that's valid to a certain extent, right? Obviously,
correct,
you have to feel it, but you've got to make sure you don't hurt yourself.
And I think also what Josh said too is it's not just, is your elbow sore, is your back a little bit sore? There's so many benefits to moving internally and not just physiologically, but the physiological effect on your psychological well-being.
being. Yes, that's right.
For older people, especially. Listen, kid, you killed it. There's all kinds of things going on. Revibe, T-O, REVIBETO.com is where you find out more. A couple locations conveniently located. Have a look at it. Go see Josh, get an assessment, and start to feel better. You can Josh will set you up with the whole thing, and you take a tour of the place and get a membership, and you'll see me there moaning and crying like a baby. And listen, I know we're due to get together again. I'll reach out in the next couple of days, and we'll make an appointment.
Sounds good.
Dude,
thanks, guys. I appreciate you guys.
Hey, appreciate
Good to meet
you.
ya.
Josh Alferez.
Way to go, Josh.
Thank
Way to
you.
go.
Josh is a very nice man.
Thank you.
Here's the thing about Josh. He's a very nice man. He knows a lot of stuff. It's pretty intimidating, but I like it. Thanks, Joshy.
Thank you.
All right, buddy.
Thank you, guys. You have
Take
a great
care.
day.
There you go.
Thank you.
All right. Revibe T-O.
Yeah, that's with a B.
Yes, Revibe.
Yes.
Freddie, there's a lot of other
Searching.
people that help keep this show going. Can you maybe talk about one of them?
Oh, yeah. Chambers of Commerce Group Insurance Plan, Canada's #1 group benefits plan for small business. Become involved, and there's dental and there's prescriptions and therapies. We just talked about therapies available through the Chambers plan, depending on what level you buy in at. And that's the point. Go to chamberplan.ca today. Get all the information you need about what's available, what it's going to cost you. Appreciate the fact that they do a great job on holding the line on premiums year to year. Very important. It's a non-profit, but that's very important to small business to know what your costs are going to be. Yeah, no big increases. They don't do that to you. They have the teledoc system. They have an HR component if you need something like that. It's fantastic. It's the Chambers of Commerce Group Insurance Plan.
Now, we didn't start the show with it today because we thought, okay, we've been doing that for a few months and we wanted to give it a rest. But we do really want you to hear these spots because we think they're so funny and Jamie's done such a great job. So we will cycle some of these through the program again. And just so we can tell you that our beer is still available, have a listen.
Humble and Fred's Interesting All Canadian Ale. Greetings, my friends. Sometimes I become emotionally affected by the level of Humble and Fred's interestingness. For instance, did you know that Humble can ride a bike with no hands? He will be riding his bicycle and then he will just sit up and take his hands off the handlebars. Fred will go to his fantastic trailer and drive his very fast boat. The wind's blowing in his fantastic hair. My God, he's a beautiful man when you see him from further away on the shore. And let us not forget about Dan. No, he is not as interesting. More, how do I say this? Peculiar and dislikes the fatness. Great crowds gather at Dan's in his summertime to watch him clank his salmon. Again, peculiar. Humble and Fred's Interesting All Canadian Ale. I can promise you this. The more you consume, the more interesting you will become. Go to the Stonehooker Brewery Company right now. Be interesting like the Humble and the Fred.
And we're working on some stuff behind the scenes to possibly, and again, this is just possibly, have some Humble and Fred Ale available for you at our next get-together. Okay, that's all we can say. You heard about the big hot dog eating contest between Kobayashi, I think that's his name, and the other dude.
Not really. Recently?
Yeah, they usually do it. Here, where is it? I had it in front of me. But they, the guy that won, Joey Chestnut in a Netflix Labor Day hot dog eating contest. So they usually do it at Coney Island. He took, he set a new world record and won $100,000 prize for the win. against the other super eater is, I think it's Kobayashi. You know how many hot dogs he ate in 10 minutes?
41.
83.
What?
You ever seen how they do it?
How can your stomach fit
I don't
81
know.
hot dogs?
I don't know. 83
just
hot
the mass
dogs.
there doesn't make sense.
I know none of it makes sense. And I'm not 100% sure, but I think they're allowed to wet the bun because it's basically a hot dog and a bun.
Yeah, I've seen clips of them when they go at it, and it's
Yeah.
even for someone like me, it's a bit gross to watch. Now I know what Delise had to look at.
I was going to say, what do you mean someone like you? Oh, that's another thing about me and my newish friend.
Has that come up already?
Oh, yeah. I can't. I try because I'm trying to be on my best behavior. I can't slow down enough. It's Kobayashi, by the way. Yeah, I can't slow down enough. Hey, but speaking of hot dogs, this is one of the reasons I wanted to bring it up because I wanted to run something by you that I don't know. We've discussed our childhoods with each other ad nauseum for 35 years. But I'm not sure I've ever brought this up. You know, when I was a kid and we were going to have hot dogs, which is fairly often because we were a poor little Jewish family from Moose Jaw, I would eat a raw hot dog.
Oh, yeah.
I haven't in years, but I used to. I had this memory when I was thinking of these hot dogs that I used to think that was a pretty cool, pretty special thing to eat the hot dog before my mumsy boiled them.
Oh, I remember as a teenager just going in the fridge if you wanted a snack, just grabbing a cold wiener and wolfing it down.
Exactly.
Absolutely.
The second part of that is my entire childhood, Luba, my mama, and my brothers could say this otherwise maybe, but I never remember her doing anything with hot dogs other than boiling them.
Right.
Did it never occur to...
Probably didn't have a microwave.
No, not just... I'm thinking about putting them in a frying pan. Or frying them up.
My mom we used to boil them too.
Yeah, everyone boiled
absolutely.
them. But at some point, society said, you know what else we can do with these hot dogs? We can put them in a frying pan. Forget grilling them. Anyway.
Well, those whistle dogs, I used to do that. I would slice it, sort of butterfly the wiener, fry it, flip it over, put cheese on and let it melt, then take it out of the frying pan. Did you just hear what I said?
I did. I'm sorry. Yeah, yes. I did hear.
What would I do with the wiener?
You would boil it and take it out of the thing and then put it in the frying pan.
Yeah.
You did that more than a few times. I know you caught me looking down.
I sliced it. I butterflied it.
Oh, okay, right. Butterfly.
Then would fry it. Then I would flip it over and put cheese along it to make a whistle dog.
I apologize because I was looking down at a note I had made. I thought it was right above the hot dog part, and I was looking at it. And I can't. Oh, I know what it is. I'm sorry. I know what that was. It's TIFF. TIFF starts tomorrow. Okay.
You know another good way to do a hot dog, which I've done. You know you lived in Montreal, steamers.
Yeah.
Well, boil a pot of water, put a colander on top of it, just put the wiener in the colander and let it steam.
Yeah.
Till it's hot. Then get the bun, throw it in there for about 10 seconds. And you got yourself a steamer.
I bet you've got yourself a steamer.
Yeah. No, I mean, good. And to tell you the truth, of all the ways to cook a hot dog, probably a barbecue is my least favorite because it sort of dries it out.
Yeah. The outside gets dry.
Yeah, I love just in the microwave. I think it's great.
And again, another thing we didn't seem to have in Moose Jaw, being a poor little Jewish family, was sausages. Because I can't remember. I have had sausages within recent weeks, like sausage. I'll make a. They've got these I can't remember where I got them. They were cheddar infused, so they're pretty big. So, and then what I do with those is I'll slice them or just slice into them and microwave them or fry them, and then the cheese kind of oozes out of it. Oh yeah, it's great cholesterol.
Palma Pasta. If you go to the frozen section, they have excellent sausages.
Yes,
when I go there and I buy them. I'm not big on the cheese actually in the sausage, to be honest with you, but they have some nice ones.
Yeah. Well, it's not a
concept.
It's not an everyday thing, but it's a once in a while thing.
And this concept of, street meat, the way they sort of, the way they slice the sausage when you're getting street meat. What is that all about?
For the condiments. So the condiments can get in between the... I know what you mean. That's what I'm talking about. They sort of almost accordion them. Like they slice them so that you can get more stuff inside them.
But wouldn't that dry them out a bit more than they need to be?
I don't think so.
Because you're letting all the juice out when you do that.
The juice is fine.
All right.
It stays in.
The juice is okay? It's still got of the juice?
It's still got of the juice? Absolutely got of the juice.
Hey, don't get me wrong.
I won't.
I get them and I buy them and I devour them. Don't get me wrong. I've just always thought it's interesting because you don't necessarily do that at home. But
one last hot dog thought for me, and you may have many, many more, but I haven't had one. I stopped eating shit at the golf course. It used to be a thing. Everyone would have a hot dog after 9 holes or some big sausage and a bunch of beer and shit. And I stopped it when I stopped drinking. But also, there's a saying in golf, have a dog, make a double. And what it means is you've gone a couple hours, you haven't really eaten, you have a big hot dog with the bun and all the carbs and all the crap and more, and you have a beer, and your system just kind of fucking overloads. And your next couple of holes, your body's trying to regulate itself, which is why, most people do that.
Even at my pathetic little level, I do not like to drink alcohol or eat when I'm golfing. I like to wait till afterwards.
Yeah.
I don't like having a sausage after the night. I don't. For that reason, whatever it is, it just changes everything for me, so I don't do it.
Yeah, but you shouldn't go 4 hours plus. What I do, what better players do, is I eat all the time. I eat something. I have, after 3 holes, every 3 holes, I'll eat something. Banana, a bar, some nuts, just so that
granola bar,
granola bar, because you're trying to keep your blood sugar sort of level through the experience. Even when I drank a lot, I never drank beer on the golf course. I drank beer maybe after.
Like it.
But it's such a big... I will tell you, I'm going to our guys' day today. It is such a big part of golf. Beer drinking is such a big part of golf that even guys that I don't think have a drinking problem drink way more. It's just sort of weird because it's almost like... It's 11 o'clock in the morning, but it's on the golf course, so it's okay if I have a Caesar.
It's an excuse to drink.
Yes. Yeah. It's a weird... Like you would never... At 11 o'clock in the morning on most days, you wouldn't think, hey, I think a Caesar would be good. Or, I'll start with a tall boy.
Even when I was younger, like in my 40s and that, younger in my 40s, I never... I remember the early years, I was part of the novelty, have a couple of beers while you're playing, and I don't know, it wore off really quick with me. One more hot dog point, and I've made this point over the years, and people go, what are you talking about? That sounds sickening. Peanut butter on your hot dogs.
I know.
My uncle introduced me to that as a kid, and it's good. And people go, oh, that's disgusting. And then you say, okay, do you like peanut sauce on a skewer of beef? Do you like peanut sauce on a skewer of beef? Yeah. Well, basically, it's a poor man's version of that. And Darren, man, I introduced him to it. He started putting onions on the peanut butter on the hot dog, and he just loves that. So before poo-pooing it, try it. It's something I've always eaten and always got a weird reaction to.
I would love it because I saw a recipe online the other day where someone took they were dressing their hot dog. I'm sorry, dressing their hamburger, and the first thing put hamburger on the bun, and then on top of the burger they put a dollop of peanut butter and let it melt.
Sure.
And I thought that's fucking perfect.
Yeah.
We know what people are like.
Like, I've never done that, but it makes sense to
Absolutely,
me because beef and peanut sauce goes good together. So
I'll tell you what else goes good together. The Sherpa J and information. We got Sherpa J standing by right now. Let me get him all set up here. Got some music. I got some Sherpa J music. Let's see. How about a little U2 to start off today? Here we go. Yeah, man.
Yeah.
Here he is, the man with the plan, coming off the bench, throwing heat. He's like one of those strong relievers, can go a bunch of innings, can start. You know, if you need him, he'll start. J.Bondy at RaymondJames.ca, and we welcome Jay Bondy, Sherpa J, back to the Humble and Fred Show. Look at us.
Howard, Fred, good morning, guys.
Hey, how are you, buddy?
Good, thank you, good.
Just spent a bunch of time talking about eating hot dogs. Sometimes, and I mentioned that you were in the golf business. Did you ever hear that phrase, have a dog, make a double?
Yeah, I did that number 10 at Glen Abbey more times than I care to.
That's right.
Care to remember, to be honest.
It took me a while to figure out why I would have this giant sausage and hot dogs and chips and beer, and then the next couple of holes I'd be a bit off.
Can't imagine. I think they do it in most of the other top sports, don't they? Like in between football snaps and in between.
That's right.
And, in between shifts in hockey, I see all those guys doing it, so I don't know why it didn't work for us.
Yeah, that's funny.
You know, these drinks, back in June, I was golfing with a couple of guys, 3 guys in their 30s. And these drinks now, like these pre-mixed, like alcohol drinks, like vodka, whatever it is, and they're drinking those, and I'm thinking, how do you play this game? Because one of those would give me a good buzz, right?
Oh, yeah.
But, when you're young and foolish and you can take it all,
Well, yeah, it's, as I said to Fred J, some years ago, a sports golf psychologist, mental guy said to me, I was talking about how I was lagging later in the rounds. He said, well, how often do you eat? I said, well, maybe once during the round. He goes, no, you have to eat all the time. You have to eat and drink water all the time. That's what those guys do. Today's an interesting topic, I think, and the topic line, what do financial advisors really do? Because we've been talking about this stuff for years, and I think it's a really good time to reset and tell people exactly what is it that you offer.
Yeah, you know what, guys, thanks. You know what, it's a great topic for sure. It is something that, I was reminded of it last week when one of our fund representatives sent out this little, what's above the surface, an iceberg, it looks like, sort of thing, and floating in there. And what's above the surface, people know we do investments. They know we offer insurance, and beyond that, what do we do, sort of thing, right? I mean, is that all? The reality is no. The value of an advisor and an advisor practice really comes from what's below the surface. What are they offering you below the surface, beyond what they must be offering you in terms of the products? What are the services they offer, which is what's really important.
So what would your day be like? Just give us a day in the life of Jay.
Yes. Well, you know what? It's always going to relate to the client, guys. I mean, ultimately, that's who we're here to serve. Those are the people we care the most about and put our time and energy in. So, when we do that, we got to relate it to the life stages they're in. So, for example, an early year, 20s, 30s, they're going to want to start identifying. Really, that's one of the hardest things we find in getting people to do, identify some of their life goals and then mapping them out. I mean, that's part of, the timeline of helping them. Early on, people need cash flow management. Like, there's a lot of young people out there. I'm so glad my son's taking that actually in high school this year. It's one of his core courses that they have to take, is just cash flow management and emergency funding, right? If you have those things as a stable base, then you can move on to the next kind of stage in life, and we can help you in that phase as well.
And it stretches over someone's entire life, because as someone who's approaching 70, then it gets to the point where you got to start spending it.
Absolutely. We got you got other aspects.
Spending it properly. Yes.
Yeah, absolutely. Mm-hmm. You got to have that's when you get a little older, you start talking about the inflation, and they go, what is that? And contingency planning, right? Because not everything that you lay out in your life plan works out perfectly for you. There's these bumps and jogs along the way that we go off course on, and usually it works out to our favor. But yeah, a contingency plan is of huge value. Managing investors' behavior, like oh my God, things went down yesterday a few points. We better sell. Just managing that expectation and that behavior of coaching them along the fact that, a portion of their portfolio may have gone down, but it likely moved into another portion of your portfolio that you weren't really realizing. So you're only going to hear the bad stuff, right? So
yeah, I was going to say the phrase financial advisor, it seems almost like it's not enough to it, because it's not just financial advice. It's almost like, as you say, managing people's finances, but from all those aspects, not just literally, but also emotionally, and managing and advising them on, the stress and panic of the volatility of markets.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of what we do is, it's part of what I always grew up saying. I wanted to be a teacher. I wanted to help people. And then I was like, no, I want to be a coach. But I've ended up in my final kind of phase of my career, as we talk about life stages. I feel like I'm in all those areas, because you want to teach people and educate a little bit, but people get bored pretty quick with the education. But you coach them, you guide them, i.e. Sherpa and our branding power behind that. That's really the value that an advisor should be bringing to you, and it's one that we take great pride in and enjoy the conversations along the way, because you need to be having those conversations.
Yes, that's for sure. Again, all these commercials have really backed off lately. You can do it yourself commercials. Sure. I notice you don't see as many of those anymore, because again, you need guidance. There's just no doubt about it.
Yeah, I mean, we believe so. Obviously, that's why we're here. We know that there's much more below the surface. And again, I'll send you this little. It's a really neat little chart that answers some of these questions. But honestly, it all ties together, right? You start with the early phases. It goes right to the later stages, where retirement planning, estate planning, how to pass it on to the next generation. All of these things that we can't be expert in. And Tim talked about a topic last week, a risk and risk management. How do we manage the risk? Because we do need to take risks in our portfolio appropriately. That's the team term we like to use. And doing it all as part of a big plan is what the hard part is bringing that all together if you're not doing it on the regular. So.
And as we've been mentioning now for several months, and Tim and I and Fred talked about it, and Jay and I and Fred will talk about it this week, which is, nothing wrong with getting the Sherpa team to have a look at your stuff and see, is the risk being managed, and is all the other emotional things, are you getting what you need from your financial advisor? Have the Sherpa team have a look, and maybe you're not, maybe you are. Get a hold of Jay, j.bondy at raymondjames.ca. Always good hanging out with you, young man.
Thanks for playing my favorite band today.
Oh, yeah?
One of these days we'll lock in on a song, an intro theme, but for now I like just rotating it, and I appreciate the U2.
Well, now that I know that it's U2, I'll find it. We'll just go U2 every week now.
We're all that'll be perfect.
All right, JB.
All right, guys.
Take care.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Stuck in a Moment is still my favorite U2 song.
Yeah, I know. I love that song.
Yeah. Not like a real hard rock song, but obviously.
Oh no, it's a great song.
It's a you know what? It's a ditty.
U2 has more than a few great songs.
Oh yeah, they've been known.
More than a few, at least a couple. Dan Duran is back.
I'm reading Bono's book. It's fun. I've been reading it over the summer, a couple of chapters at a time. Very interesting.
I told you I was reading this book about the idea of misbelief that Earl gave me, and I haven't read an actual physical book for a while, and I started reading it again yesterday afternoon. And I just want you to know, to preface the rest of the story, I had already had a nap. Okay, so I was post-nap. The sun was shining. I was upstairs, and I have a chair in my bedroom. It's like a nice, comfortable chair I like to read in. And I got about 40 minutes into this book, and I fucking fell asleep again. I hadn't I don't know what it was, but I have about a 35 or 40 minute capacity before I can't read anymore.
Yeah. I know. It happens. Age is a funny thing. It's age-related. There's just no getting around.
Oh, I suppose it is. Like I say, it was it's just funny to me because I just started to get drowsy again. I'm like, well, this is weird. How am I drowsy?
Like, it's really weird. Like, where I'm at in my life, bedtime is my favorite time of the day. It's like, oh, God, time to go to bed. Night. That's sad. But it's true. And again, it's not because, depression makes me want to stay in bed or get in bed. It's the fact that it's my happy place.
No, I get it. I sometimes I get to about 9:15 or 9:20 and I go, well, I've done enough day now.
Yes, I've accomplished all
the things I needed to do, and now it's enough day for one person. So
true.
Dan Duran's here. Daniel?
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Will you be favoring us? We're all done with our stuff, right, Freddie? Oh, no, I have one more thing to do.
We're done. I am, yeah.
Okay, well, I have one more thing.
Jay being back.
Fred's already talked about the Bow Dog, but what about them? What do they have to say?
Feeling caught in a neutral zone? When things start to go offside, you know it's time to play. It's easy to find your next favorite game at Bodog.net. Check out the latest sports odds and get free tips to help you score this hockey season. Visit Bodog.net today. #Make a play.
No.
Oh, I'm sorry. Dan Duran had a question.
Oh, yeah, no, I was just going to mention with the... did you guys notice when you're touring through your streaming services that there was the hot dog eating contest on Netflix? It was a live thing?
Yeah, we just talked about it for about 20 minutes.
Oh, you did? Okay.
Yeah.
It was a lot.
It was live.
Did you mention that part, Howard?
I mentioned it was a Netflix show. I didn't mention it. It was... Okay, so the detail...
It was live.
It was live,
okay.
yes. But we did talk about the contest.
Yeah,
which, to be fair, is pretty significant because these streaming services getting into their live broadcasts.
Oh yeah,
it's taking the industry again in a whole other direction.
Do you know how many hot dogs they ate, Dan?
Yeah, 83 was the world record, new world record for Joey Chestnut, and the other guy, Takuro Kobayashi, said his personal best record was 66. But still, how do you even?
How many hot dogs
have to be on buns?
Yes, and I think they can wet them. We talked about it. How many hot dogs do you think you could eat? I didn't ask Fred this.
Me or Fred?
You.
Me. Oh, maybe 6.
6. How many could you eat, Freddie? Standard hot dogs, and by the way, with bun.
If we were sitting there having our own little contest, maybe 4, 5, maybe. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't think I could. I don't think I could do more than 3 or 4.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, this is what I'm saying. 66. Like, take 66 mushed up hot dogs and look at that mass.
Yeah.
Who's got a stomach that big? This is what I don't understand.
Well, take 66 and then add almost 20 more, and that's what Joey did. Joey Chestnut.
Okay, so I don't. It doesn't add up to me.
No, I know.
Like,
it's a
are
lot.
they crapping the whole time they're doing it?
No, they're not.
Not that I watched this, but the article I read about it, because I saw the headline and said, "Oh, that's stupid." But they had 10 minutes to eat as many hot dogs.
Yeah, it was in 10 minutes.
That's what they did, and they could not. They were not allowed to dunk them.
Oh, they can't dunk them, eh?
No,
because in some of the contests they're allowed to wet the bun.
Not in this one.
Okay.
So 80 in 10 minutes.
83.
So
no, yeah.
Do you? And some of them are like little guys too, right?
Oh yeah, Kobayashi isn't big. So Joey Chestnut, they're not big fat men.
No, they're not guys with huge guts.
No.
So again, how obviously they condition their stomachs. They train for it, I would imagine, to get their stomachs to expand. It's like weird.
It is. It's weird. Yeah.
I think one of the guys, I don't know which one, said that they can't. They sort of retired recently because they can't. They don't have an appetite anymore. Oddly.
But I couldn't.
I'm not hungry. I don't know.
Well,
I have to remind myself to eat.
Howard, traditionally over the years, I don't know how many times we have been around or conducted our own chicken wing eating contest, and everybody, I could eat 80, and it's amazing that guys get around 20 and they start getting that look on their face like they can't do much more.
Yeah, we had lots of contests.
Claims they could eat 80. Oh, I could eat 100 wings.
In almost every one that we did, and we probably did 3 or 4, always somebody puked. Mm-hmm. Somebody always threw up. I was gonna mention chicken wings in terms of something I can eat a number of. I'd easily do. I've done a dozen, so I could easily do 15, maybe 18 chicken wings. Mm-hmm. Another thing I can eat a lot of are dim sum, the little dumplings, hargao and sumai. They're chicken dumplings or shrimp dumplings. I could eat 20 of those, maybe. Because I regularly do. I mean, I'm a fucking pig when it comes to that stuff. But I couldn't eat more than 3 or 4 hot dogs.
No. It's different. Like back in the day, I could eat a couple dozen wings, no problem.
Yeah.
The traditional bar wings?
Yep.
Like there on Kennedy Road, that place, Cece's. They were 9 cents each, the wings. And, I could eat a couple of dozen easy. And your bill was like not counting the beers, but it was like $2.50 for like 25 wings.
We got to get.
The good old days.
We got to wrap it up here. Dan, are you going to do that story about that I sent you?
No, I was going to save it for next week because it's somewhat evergreen. Yeah.
Okay, save that one.
Yeah.
I did find a story that I just wanted to mention to Dan because I don't know if Fred will be interested or not. But the astronauts that are on that stranded Boeing Starliner, the ones that were going to come back in 2 weeks, and then there was going to be a couple months. Now they're not coming back till next February. Those people that are just orbiting the planet? Well, apparently the astronauts have begun hearing a pulsing sound coming from the space capsule.
So it's haunted?
Well, the thing is, I didn't have to read. The reason I thought of you, Dan, is because you and I are science fiction nerds. But I thought I didn't have to read anything else after that, other than
that's enough.
Has no one on that ship ever seen a science? You get rid of it. Jettison. When you hear bum 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 bum, you hear that coming from a space capsule. Doesn't matter what it's cost. Get rid of it. It's going to affect.
Float it away.
Okay,
just float it away. That's right.
It's going to affect everybody on the ship. Somebody's going to be a reptile soon.
Yeah, it's not going anywhere. Just leave it away from the station. You don't need it right now. Yeah.
Hey guys, do you think that has the makings of a movie?
Yeah, stranded in space, and all of a sudden they
that
pulsing.
Like
noise.
I saw an article there a couple of weeks ago. Like the families, right? Like they have wives and kids on Earth.
Oh yeah.
And they expected
falling
daddy
apart at home, yeah.
Well, they expected them to be home by now, and it's scary. Even though they're apparently everything's fine, and they got to wait for the right window to come home. It's still scary stuff.
I don't know. And
I was just going to say it's going to be interesting because the reason they're not coming back is because they're not confident in it's a test capsule. Basically, it's the first time it's flown with people in it, and they want to make sure it's right for human, a human to fly, and they're not confident of that. So it's going to fly back by itself sometime.
Yeah.
So that's going to be the question: is like, well, were they right? Because if it burns up in the atmosphere, it was probably a good idea that they waited.
The way I thought of it is because, again, they were up there, we're supposed to come back in a week or 2 weeks, and then they keep getting delayed, and this is for safety. And then when somebody reports a pulsing sound coming from the sea, I could just see the 2 astronauts are like, are you fucking kidding me?
I'll go back in the other rocket, yeah.
Yeah, I'll go send somebody else up.
Yeah.
Where's the escape pod? I'm going back in that one.
Did you hear there's a pulsing sound in the capsule? Yeah. I won't be coming back for years. Okay, Dan, let's get right to the Dan Duran news because that was not part of the Dan Duran news. Let's get to it. Okay. Here we go.
Now, here's to a fella named Dan Duran, a hell of a guy with a hella big wang, the quintessential anchor man. His voice is nice and low. Dan Duran, the anchor man comes. As for credentials, he has none. Can't tell a headline from his bum, but his voice is nice and low. Dan Duran, the anchorman's here. He's prone to falling off his chair, but he's got a big wang, so he don't care, and his voice is nice and low.
My voice is nice and low.
And now live from Lakeside, where hopefully things will be warming up. Here he is, noted movie anchor, television series regular, and all-around wonderful, wonderful man. It's Dan Duran.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I've got a couple of quickies here for you. One is cell phones. You know, we heard a lot about cell phones lately. They are okay when it comes to brain cancer. The WHO, the World Health Organization, has released they've released results of a study on the relationship between between radio waves emitted by cell phones and the cancers that happen in the head area. They took like 5,000 observational studies, you know, when they do the actual data point researchy kind of stuff, and put them all together, mash them in the study blender, and out popped the conclusion that there is no effect. So that's good news.
Yeah, good news.
For people with heads.
And who did this?
Who?
Who did?
Who?
You guys are really having a field day with the who thing, aren't you?
Yeah.
Is this over yet?
No. There's the who's over.
Okay, the who part's over. All right.
Okay, so the other thing I wanted to mention is that down in Brazil, this is kind of interesting. Brazil banned X.
Hold on.
Yeah. They banned X because they won't get into the content moderation business to prevent misleading posts. A Supreme Court justice there, who was the guy in charge of the elections. Remember, they had a lot of problems with Bolsonaro and stuff when the last election there was, actual election interference and stuff. So he's ordered the suspension of dozens of accounts for allegedly spreading disinformation. X wouldn't do it. Elon Musk wouldn't do it. So they said, hey, no more X then. And so there's no more. Musk did not relent. So there's no more X in Brazil. And as a matter of fact, the only way you can get it is through a VPN. But there's also stiff fines if you try to access X on a VPN. So it's like been. And then one of the things that came out of this is it's Starlink that provides a lot of internet there. They wouldn't block X. So the judge froze all the accounts of the Brazil Starlink ground stations and everything else. Finally, that company has relented. So Musk's X is blocked by Musk's Starlink. He owns both companies. It's crazy.
I have a question. Anyway. What did who have to say about it?
Who?
What did who say? Who what?
Who? Okay.
But we find ourselves in crazy times because, you know, the right wing in the United States, the far right, talking about freedom of speech and access to information. And what Musk has done to X or Twitter, it's just a sea. It's just a cesspool of misinformation.
Oh, yeah.
At some point, you've got to make moves towards misinformation because it's dangerous. And the very people that are arguing for free speech are the perpetrators. Yeah. They're the ones flooding, those platforms with misinformation and arguing that we should have free speech when it's actually hurting society. Like, I'm glad I don't have to figure it out because...
Well, I told you yesterday that he put maybe we didn't talk about exactly what he posted, but a couple of days ago, Elon Musk posted a picture of Kamala Harris dressed as a sort of social or a Russian, had a comrade. I understand. I know we talked about it. Why he's doing it because he's one of the oligarchs, but how he chose Trump as the path is a fascinating one, but he's definitely promoting Kamala Harris, promoting things that are anti-Kamala Harris.
Yeah, which is fine. You can be, as long as your criticism is valid and the truth.
No, but it's
nothing
all
wrong with that.
It's just all propaganda.
No,
You're
that's
not allowed
the problem.
to lie. You shouldn't be allowed to lie and just, things that are obviously not true.
And especially with a Twitter account or an X account that he has, which is tens and tens of millions of impressions on impressionable people.
And not to get too hysteric, but people die over this stuff, this misinformation. So it's something's got to be done. Free speech, look what they're doing to Elon now. Yeah, because he's got a shithole of a service now. So, yeah. Okay. Somebody's got to deal with it.
Someone better deal with it. Quickly, a couple things before we go. Someone asked us on Facebook if we are going to 4 days a week. I think we addressed this yesterday. Someone asked us if we're working tomorrow. We are not. We won't go till 4 days a week until after the summer solstice. Those are the rules.
Well, we're off the week of September 16th, so when we return, I guess that would be a good time to start.
That'll be a good time to start. And we're also off this Monday, so another extended Humble and Fred weekend. When we get back Tuesday, we will have our full pre-debate show. We'll be we'll be getting you all ready for the big debates.
Yeah. This return in September. Have you worked in your golf days off too, and that sort of?
Yes, this is all I've done. A lot of golf days off.
Yeah, I know, but it's when you're back for 4 days. Are we really back for 4 days?
Well, not really. That's going to be. It's going to be 1 day. We're going to be back.
So back to 3 days, even though it's a 4 day.
Yes, the week of the we'll start going back to 4 days. The week of the 23rd, but I can only work 3 days that week. So,
right,
our first full days of 4 days won't be until October. So everyone should shut up. No, September 30th, we're going to work a full week that day.
October surprise.
Mike Boone, a couple of weeks, told me, I don't know if it's changed. Howard, a returning guest that everyone really likes.
Yeah, I don't know about that.
Was in the calendar.
I know.
Is he still in the calendar?
Let me look. Please. Please stand by.
I looked the other day. I couldn't see it. But again, I don't know if I was privy to the proper calendar.
I am. You get the same calendar as me, and he's not on there anymore.
Oh, okay.
All right.
Okay, guys. Great times. Thanks very much, everybody. Thanks for all your emails. Dan Duran, the new Zoom Theater naming rights go to Kevin.
Oh, right. Hold on. Whoa, hold on.
All right.
Down there. Okay.
Kevin.
Hold on. Okay, Kevin.
Kevin with a Y, by the way. Interesting name. Kevyn.
Oh, that'll help. Okay.
Last name, House.
Oh.
Kevin with the Y House is our new Zoom Theater honoree.
Kevin's in the house. Probably heard that a million times.
Yeah.
Okay.
And by the way, when you're with one of Humble and Fred's... Oh, Boone says that he was in the calendar, but one of the golf days I have to take off, change the date.
Oh.
And anyway, he's not really interested in coming on. I can just see it here. It doesn't matter. I mean, I think, again, love the guy, but I don't think...
So he was on, and then because of one of your golf dates...
And then according to Mike's message, now he's cold about coming back on again. I wasn't 100% sure he was going to go through with it anyway. What I was going to say, Dan, is when you're with any of the Humble and Fred Zoom Theater honorees, it's very hallowed ground. You're not allowed to take pictures with any of them. Okay, because those are our honorees.
Be very careful around the honorees. Should have little badges for them.
Here we go.
What's that? I'm an honoree.
What's that, Fred? Here we go.
No. I mean, again, the way stuff gets twisted, it's like, well, they invited us to take pictures. Well, it was still against the law. It's still, you're not supposed to do it, whether they invited that big fat orange piece of shit or not.
Can't end of the show.
Well, no. But I'm saying that would be like, bring some cocaine over to my house, and then arguing that, well, he told me to bring it over. So what's wrong with that? It's like, it's still illegal.
Yeah, but the worst part of it is they asked Trump about it, and meanwhile, and they shot a bunch of video there that the Trump campaign put out as a spot on TikTok and other social platforms. They asked Trump about it. He goes, I don't know anything about it. Doesn't anyone call him on it? And they said, well, it's on your TikTok. He goes, I don't know who did that. Your campaign did it. Your campaign did it.
And that's, Keith Olbermann. I mean, that's his big beef right now, and I agree.
Yeah, I heard
even the mainstream media, the left media, there's so much stuff. They're failing to call him out in a lot of stuff. Like, that's a big deal. They should be pounding the shit out of that.
No, I know. I heard that yesterday.
It doesn't matter that they invited him. You still don't do it.
Well, not only do you not do it, you can't film there.
Yeah.
I heard I heard the countdown as you did yesterday, and yeah, it's inexplicable that it's not the headline. How is that not the headline? That the campaign filmed at this place. Anyway,
you know what the headline is? Kamala put on a little bit of an accent in Michigan the other day. That's their big thing against Kamala.
All of a sudden, she has a different accent.
The Kamala. The other comment that Jesse Waters made. Did you see that one?
I hate that guy. You know what? I hate him.
With a serious, newscaster voice was putting on that the person that objected to the whole goings on at the Arlington National Cemetery there was somehow mentally disturbed.
No, I know.
So it was some sort of
the woman,
having a mental episode.
Mm-hmm. Okay, since we're doing, she had a mental episode.
Anyway.
She was, it's so fucked up. Last night, as I was coming home late, I was hearing this Army guy who Caitlin Collins brought on ostensibly to talk about what do you think about this incident at Arlington Cemetery, and this gentleman who represents a veteran group, a huge veteran group. Here's what he said about he obviously had no time for that, but he had said a while ago in terms of when Donald Trump said that the Medal of Freedom was better than the Medal of Honor, and he was quoted as saying, "Well, that's asinine." But when he was quoted as saying a few weeks ago, are you with me so far?
Yep.
Yes.
But last night, she was trying to get him to say, what do you think about Donald Trump saying that? And he so didn't want to say anything bad about Trump. And here's what he said. Well, he said, well, I don't really have anything to say about it. He said, I'm not sure. He said, I know. He didn't say, how he put it was this. Trump was there when it was being said. No, fucking Trump said it. Mm-hmm. But he couldn't bring himself to say that Trump said it.
Who was he?
He's a guy from the Army, some organization that is representing veterans. But he couldn't say, he was saying the behavior was asinine, not the person who said it. It was so fascinating.
Even the cemetery thing. If Trump had gone there quietly, if they had said, could you come, Mr. President, because we liked your position on this or your involvement in this, and he went quietly, and even if after his people released a thing saying today Mr. Trump spent some time at Arlington with the thing, that would have been like a normal story. He went there but again, he's got to turn into it aren't I a hero? Look at me. I do love our servicemen. Fuck.
And he keeps he keeps commenting on the fact that he was invited, but he wasn't invited to film an infomercial there. And the fact that nobody can just cop to the fact it's illegal. You're not supposed to do it.
Even if the families said to him, okay, Mr. Trump, it's okay. Yeah, you can take some pictures. They were wrong.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's like, that's them saying it's okay. It doesn't even enter into the story.
No, I know.
Because it's not supposed to happen. So those families that invited him, they were disrespecting the other soldiers in that part.
Because their family wasn't the only ones in that area. All right. Anyway,
how was that lost on people?
It's lost. Okay, here's why. Because it's a funnel. A funnel
Tell
of...
me.
Here's why. Because there's more than a few crazy shit said every day. All right, now fuck away, everybody.
This episode
clearly
of Humble and Fred was brought to you by
Clearly
the Retirement Sherpa.
Is this show over?
The Chambers Plan. 4 on 1, Bodog, our returning sponsor, Kelsey's Original Roadhouse, and our newest sponsor, Ridley Funeral Home. For contests and comments, we read all of the emails. Humble and Fred at humbleandfredradio.com. As you know, Humble and Fred at humbleandfredradio.com. Please tell us what you think. Get into the show next week. And here's something you can do to help us out. Tell your friends about us. Subscribe to the podcast. Maybe write a review. Would be very much appreciated. For Humble and Fred from the Kevin House Zoom Theater, I'm Dan Duran. And remember, even if you eat hot dogs and then put peanut butter on that pureed preserved goop pooped out of a machine, you are still a person. So go out there and enjoy every goddamn day.
That was a good drum break. Pick yourself up off the side of the road.